Welcome to this week's episode of Lasso TV. I'm Devin Martina.
And I'm David Coslow. In this week's show, Simon Lundquist will answer the question, is the work ethic at Mason helpful or harmful?
We'll also be talking about how to prepare for midterms and give our exclusive coverage of the CyberPatriots competition right here on Lasso TV. First, let's head over to Simon.
The work ethic at Mason is more rigorous than most schools. The question I want to answer is, where is the line between teaching students to work hard and assigning too much work that hinders a student's life? The answer is more complicated than you may think. I think people know you, so I don't think you need much of an introduction. But I have a few questions for you. So first of all, naturally, students have a tendency to want less work to be assigned, citing that it gives them anxiety or takes hours of sleep away. But what have you heard from alumni of Mason in terms of how the work ethic here helps them out?
I'm glad you brought that question to my attention. I've had an opportunity over the last couple of weeks. 'Tis the season where students are coming back over the holidays, Thanksgiving break, and I've met with several alumni. And I think the message that I've received from many of them is that they feel really prepared when they get to the university level. They talk about many of them, the significant workload they had while at Mason, and it was, very difficult for them to balance social life, school life, extracurricular life, but in the end, what it did was it did prepare them for the level of rigor, the required tasks, homework, reading that they're experiencing at the university level.
Most of my day, because I come here at 7:50 every morning, and I work until 3, and then I go home. I work until 8 on schoolwork, or 9, or 10, or midnight, or 2 a.m., depending on what I have to do. I think that teachers don't think of other classes when they assign work.
I do not come to school as early as Rivers. I'm usually tardy. So I do a lot of my schoolwork in school. I'm irresponsible and I don't know how to manage my time. I don't know if the teachers are giving too much work or if I just don't know how to manage my time.
From a high school principal's perspective, the one thing we always want to look for is to make sure that we establish a sense of balance, and that goes for workload to everything else that we want our students to be successful with in this particular building. So I think that there's a lot of work that we have to do administratively to create a better sense of balance, but ultimately I think what we're doing right now is trying to prepare kids for that workload at the secondary level, and based on the conversations I've had with alumni, we've seemed to be doing that quite well.
On the other hand, where do you think the line is when the work assigned can become too much?
That's another great question. I don't think there's a blueprint for what is too much work. I think it is dependent on the class, the curriculum, the topic, the level. There are so many factors that go into workload that it's very hard to kind of designate an appropriate level of balance without having some more information to answer that question. So I think what we do as administrators, we kind of talk to the teachers about, is there a way that, there are certain assignments that can be done during class, to what extent can we use all of the class to get as much done as we can, so that way we don't have to do so much at home. Recognizing that students work and they belong to sports teams and they have other responsibilities that, it's definitely on us as adults to establish what we believe is the appropriate level of balance. But like I said, there's no blueprint. I think it all depends on the level and things of that nature.
I think it depends on the class, honestly, because some classes are way too much work, and some are just it's all right, but
And then finally, what do you recommend to these students who have problems with the amount of work assigned?
Well, I think that's another very difficult question. I don't believe that there's a simple answer. I think it depends on the student. I think it depends on the student's interest. So a couple recommendations would be to definitely make sure that they touch base with their counselor over the next 2 weeks. We're going to be doing course registration, and those are some of the things that need to be considered. We don't expect every student in this building to be a full IB diploma student, right? We want students to recognize their strengths, to recognize their weaknesses, to meet with their counselors and go over what they believe would be an appropriate appropriate schedule for them that challenges them, but also gives them some, a sense of reprieve where they can ultimately focus on things that they find interesting in this building. I keep using the word balance, but balance is defined by the individual. But I do think it's in the student's best interest to understand what's going to work for them. I think at this point in your life, especially from ages of 13 to 17, 9th grade to 12th grade, life is ultimately going to be about choice, and that's a huge piece. So I think the first step would definitely be sitting down with counselors and kind of devising a plan that's most appropriate based on what their interests are.
So as we have seen here, nothing is black and white. Teachers assign work because work is necessary for progress, but work is work. Work is difficult, and it's up to you to find a good balance. What are you willing to accomplish? Please state your name and how you spell it. We need interviews for Lasso.
Next, we go to Kitty Cooper in the field talking about midterms at Mason.
Yup, it's that time of year again. Whether you're for or against them, midterm exams are right below death and taxes on the list of inevitabilities, especially for a George Mason student. So, in the spirit of the season, we've interviewed a couple students with radically different schedules on how they handle midterms.
I'm Lorian Hins, and I'm a junior.
Oh, I'm Hannah Dooney, and I'm a senior.
No, it is not. I came here freshman year.
No.
I have midterms in all 7 of my classes.
Probably like 3 or 4. I'm not really sure.
I think I'm mediocre prepared. I mean, I'm prepared-ish. And I'm not very stressed about it.
Oh, I'm not prepared, and I should probably study more for them, but I haven't done that yet.
It probably takes an average of 4 hours, so for my harder classes more.
Probably like either from like 1 to 4 hours for a class.
For math, probably go over tests you did poorly on and resolve the problems. For other classes, you might have note cards or something like that.
I like Quizlet a lot, and I like making note cards with like handwritten.
My test-taking strategy is deep breaths if you get too caught up or too tense. Do your best. Cross out answers that don't make sense. That's about it.
I skip around during tests. Like, I'll start at the end and then like I'll go to the beginning. I don't know. I just like skip around during tests, and that's how I do it.
What most students don't realize is that midterms can be just as draining for their teachers as they are for them. Seriously, why is this not acknowledged more? Are we too tired from cramming all night to see your teachers are just as, if not more, exhausted? Whatever. Lasso TV is on the case, informing the public and clearing misconceptions.
I'm Mrs. Dean Pratt, and I teach English 10 Honors, 11 English, and 12 English.
My name is Jason Perkins, and I teach earth science, chemistry, and bio-2 ecology.
Many years. Do I have to say an exact number?
16 years.
27?
This is my 3rd year at George Mason High School.
I do. Midterm exams are important.
All of our classes will be having midterm exams, yes.
10, 11, and 12 will take a midterm.
Well, that varies to class, but certainly earth science exam, we're going to have to change it up from last year, so it's probably going to take me 2, maybe 3 hours, and then an additional 2 hours to maybe modify some different exams, so maybe 4 or 5 hours total.
Well, since it's a compilation of all of the work that they've done, it takes a long time to compose all the pieces and parts of grammar, vocabulary, literature. Yeah, well, it takes a long time. I don't know how much, really.
Well, we have power assessment, so sometimes I use power assessment, which is a lot of questions that are sorted by depth of knowledge, so basically pulling from other tests, having question banks to pull from.
So I try to go through the different aspects, so that, again, is grammar, vocabulary, literary terms, how they're applied, a little bit of an essay, some short answers. Try to mix it up a bit.
Advice would be looking back at pertinent assignments, like important assignments. So if your teacher had you make Cornell notes, study guides, reviewing your projects, labs, those are good places to start.
Right, I'm putting together the packages now for the review. And so I would say at least go through all of that one time. And otherwise we'll practice in class a bit, review some of the fiction, nonfiction, literary pieces that we've done, and then see if we can apply a few features. Talk a little bit about vocabulary, a little bit about grammar, usage, that sort of thing.
Finally, we have for you all some exclusive coverage of the CyberPatriots competition that took place here at Mason last week.
I'm Thomas with Lasso TV, here today with
Lucas.
And we're going to be talking about CyberPatriots. So Lucas, what is CyberPatriots?
So basically you get points by adding security to a computer.
Hello, Dan.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Is this just a competition at Mason, or is it other places?
I think it's national. It may also be global, but mostly the U.S., yeah.
They were here with?
Eric Boson.
Hi, Eric. So you are on the same team as Carlos, and we just want to know what you guys are doing.
So every few months we come into the library and we work for 6 straight hours on trying to secure several different virtual computers, all with different operating systems. And we, as Carlos mentioned, we also have to complete some quizzes and work with some network simulations and all these kinds of things, and we try to get the most points we can in that 6 hours for security goals we can, all that kind of thing.
All right. That's very interesting. And how many different objectives is there for you guys to do?
Well, it depends what you define as an objective, but I'm currently working on the Linux image. Linux is, if you don't know, it's GNU Linux is one of the 3 most popular operating systems after Windows and Mac OS X. And then 2 of our other members are working on Windows computers to try to secure those. And then we have a 10-question quiz about networking and how you can set up computer networks. So we have to do that. That's pretty difficult. And then we also have a simulation of a network that we have to find malware, find malicious things going on, and fix all those problems. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, but it's very fun. So.
All right, thank you, Eric. That was very interesting.
That's all for this week, Mustangs.
Good luck with midterms. So extra. What are you doing?